Tonight, the new party in town is just beginning to find out how complex, how difficult, and almost impossible it is to run a political party. The merged interests that were supposed to work together is proving oil and water. It's been a story of kicks and blows, such as democracy. News Sources starts right now. The highlights.
Hatutaki tuingiliwe na nchi zingine wakituambia wanatusomesha sijui civic education ati njisi ya kupiga. Wakenya wanajua kupiga kura.
All that in a moment. Good evening and welcome. I'm James Smart. It has been a long time coming. That election of Jubilee officials in different positions is upon us, and the Jubilee faithfuls have descended into an orgy of sporadic violence. It was a no-show in Nyeri today, where party officials had converged early in the morning, but violence soon broke out as different factions disagreed on virtually everything. Well, that's how we start news this night. From my extreme right, Wahome Duku, karibu sana to the program, Makotani, and Ramadan Rajab. Panel, where do we start? Did anyone see this coming?
Yeah. Now, you have just said that this Jubilee is starting to see violence at home, okay? The reasons as to why you'd say that is because they have not been testing the waters. ODM and COD are known to do things extra, to go the extra mile, to test the waters of violence. They say we will do it, whatever comes, let it come. Now, Jubilee is trying it now, okay? They have just merged and now they are sorting out their house. I always look at Jubilee like this big river that will be directed to a pipe at some point in time. Because you have quite a number of 10, 20 candidates, all of them seeking one seat, okay? And they all have equal say in their various positions. Mm-hmm. So how they'll sort themselves out so that at the end of the day you have one man running against the opponent is what now we are seeing right ahead of us.
We've seen this, for the last 2 or so days, and it's been, everywhere. We've known Nakuru, we've seen Busia, and all these things. And the question that, comes to mind is, didn't the party prepare enough for this? Because all of this preparedness.
I don't think you can ever prepare enough, especially when you're dealing with more than 10 parties that have been merged into one. Remember now, for the Jubilee Party nominations, it's a do or die. The general election is actually the nominations for Jubilee. Because if you are from a Jubilee Party zone, once you win the nomination, it's like you're in. So that's why you see all this. But it's now the true test of how democratic Jubilee Party will be, given they have been laughing at their opponents on the other side of how theirs have been mad with violence. When ODM has violence, they always say, you are disorganized, you promote violence. Now it's their true test. Now it's time to test their own systems.
How then?
I think Jubilee never picked lessons or learned lessons from the so-called, the goon type of parties they talk about. But ideally, nominations in Kenya are expected to go that way because we don't have members. I'm so sure members of ODM were in that also, or in that Jubilee.
They're voting as well.
Yes, because these parties don't have people who have subscribed as members. So you don't know who is coming in or who is coming to vote or who is not in. So I think if you have to get these party nominations to be at least sane, you need to have a clear list of members, say, I'm a member of ODM, and this is called Rajab Ramadan, or a member of Jubilee. So when you're coming, people know who exactly is coming to vote and how many people are expecting to come in a specific voting zone. But all we are seeing is chaos, and it will continue. This is
I don't quite agree with him that where Jubilee, once you get the Jubilee ticket, you're home and dry. What we know is that in the Jubilee strongholds, they will all go for the president, they are presidential candidates. Now, for the rest of the seats, this chaos will result into those splits.
But it does not defeat the purpose of why they wanted everyone to be in the party, because there was a reason why both the president and the deputy wanted everyone to be in the party.
Yeah, they have been saying that they want everyone to be in the party so that the party looks national, okay? It's one thing to look national. It's another thing for people who are within this party to feel that they have been treated fairly. And the only problem, this will happen now because as we go closer to the election, party hopping will be stopped, okay? At some point in time, maybe around May. So this chaos now, what will happen is that people will disintegrate and they will move into already some of them have started moving out of Jubilee to other parties, knowing that ahead of May, before May, I have to have my position clear. I don't want to be part of this, to this kind of chaos so that I end up being edged out. So that's the kind of alignment that we are seeing now.
Lessons from ODM then, and the previous nominations and the elections, is that when you have this kind of violence, you usually get the roughest, and the uncouth, who are the ones who get to be elected and get the nominations. Now the problem of that is it depresses the national vote.
Of course, when you deal with such scenarios where you don't have a party list, everyone brings their own lineup of who they want to vote for them. The person who will manage to bring the highest number of guys to vote during these nominations will carry the day. Not necessarily the most popular. But then it seems Jubilee Party never learned from ODM. ODM was dealing with this kind of chaos. Has been dealing with it, I think, every other time. Yet they didn't realize this and then prepare early enough. This might result in a fallout. That fallout might be a mess for Jubilee Party, given they want to be one house.
All right.
Yes.
We're sticking with it. And it was the same story in other areas where Jubilee Party was attempting to elect its officials. In Busia and in Nakuru yesterday, violence erupted, sending officials scampering for safety. Those elections there have not taken off since. Still, the party bosses, President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto, have decided to stay mum. Pleasure.
I think the best thing the party leaders should do, at least in some areas, you can do boardroom negotiations and decide on who to run, the most popular, if you don't want such embarrassment. Because they have been trotting around saying we're the most organized party around, and those are the people who subscribe to hooliganism. So it's in their doorstep.
Let's say to the nominated senator who just defected from Jubilee yesterday, and now he's joined. Let's listen to his reasons and what he had to say yesterday.
I'm not going to contest for my governorship with Jubilee Party, and I've already decided to relocate to Kanu, which is the party which has more nationality outlook.
We do not want this kind of election where we will just bring us here to rubber stamp. Kuleta watu vinyangarika wengine hapa kusimamia mambo ya chama.
And there we have it. Honestly, and it has to say there's nothing you get out of this kind of sort of nonsense. There's nothing you get good out of this.
Yeah, like now you see the senator there has already taken his position, saying he fears, maybe from his history, the very recent history, he fears being part of what is going to happen in Jubilee. And he thinks that he'll be safer in Kanu than engage in all that. But what we are saying, you see, this kind of chaos now, it's way ahead of even the nominations themselves. We are yet to get to nominations of candidates. Okay, you look at a place like Kiambu, you have almost 4 or 5 guys running for the governor's position, and they are all strong. So how you get to sort them out? And at some point in time, they must sort themselves out. Okay? Jubilee will not have 4 candidates. It has to have 1 candidate for the governorship. Now, that's the reason why you would say that their principles, the president and the deputy, are keeping off. But in my own opinion and my own feeling, I think the only person who might keep out of these elections, or his hand will not be seen in it, is the president. Otherwise, when you go to the second hand of Jubilee, it's more likely that we will see a hand of
So who wins? Who wins out of this?
Of course, Who wins? Who wins now is the roughest guy who can manage to handle this kind of... Remember, in this, this is the election of interim officials. How does, let's say, a person with disability handle this kind of scenario? This means they'll also lose out. How do women deal with such kind of scenarios? Many of them will lose out of this. And in the end, actually it's Jubilee Party in this case that might lose out. Because now guys will start defecting early, defeating the whole purpose of the whole mother party of Jubilee Party.
I think in this scenario, they're not looking for leaders. They are looking for the strongest and the bravest to fight. Yeah? But I doubt if you can get a leader out of this, out of such a process.
Isn't a leader someone who's strong and brave?
No.
You know, who
leadership
can
is
be able to...
intellectual
Leadership is not
pursuit.
about physical strength.
It's not about physical, it's intellectual
Unless you're
pursuit.
leading wrestling.
Yes.
What I still think is that, okay, this will happen in Jubilee. People will fight, whether physical or intellectually or whichever way they fight. Some of them will leave the party. Now, the problem is that once they leave the party, the people will go with them. Don't think that the people are just so naive that they think that where Jubilee is, that is a ticket, even if our man walks out. The only position is that most of these people, whether they're in Jubilee or they'll go to other parties, they'll all have one presidential candidate. And I think that's where the party...
I agree with you. They have one presidential candidate. Let's take the example of CORD. In the last election,
Yes.
they had Ford Kenya, Wiper, and ODM going in one party. What happens is that this electoral competition for other seats, governor, MP, whatever it is, becomes so stiff that you can't sell the presidential candidate or the national message. You can't sell, CORD, for instance. CORD was not as popular, if you like, as, say, ODM, where it was, supposed to be ODM.
You see,
and that's the problem you get.
You must look at ODM, CORD and Jubilee in terms of the presidential candidates. And I think that's all what these guys care about. They don't care. You see, right now, anyone who is going to vote for CORD has already made that decision. There isn't likely to be a crossover between who will vote for Jubilee and who will not. The only thing is, at the grassroots, the MCAs, the governors, the women reps, those ones, they'll sort them out. They might even have a party, an area having almost 3 different parties. The MCA is in a different party, the women rep is in, and the governor is in another party. But all of them, I can assure you, they'll either go for the presidential candidate for ODM, CORD. Now it is going to be NASA, is it NASA? Or whatever, and Jubilee. Okay, those 2 positions, key positions, are the very top. Those ones will not change. Ukuchini, people will fight it out.
Does this improve our democracy? This way of doing things?
I think in fact, it spoils it. We are going back to Stone Age. This is where people used to fight. Whereas I expected people to cast their votes peacefully and say, I believe in smart to lead me.
But I think after the grand launch and President Uhuru promising a very fair process for all these things, I think they should have come up with a structure first before they try and roll these things. Come up with a clear register of members so that you have a very thorough process where you don't, it's not free for all, where everyone now fights out.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
All right, let's shift gears now away from Jubilee's chaos and 7 months to the next elections and IEBC's rule asking aspirants in the next poll to hand in their bank accounts plus those of their team members appears to be yet another point of conflict. Orange Democratic Movement has moved to court challenging the decision by Electoral Commission to compel politicians for this information. ODM claims this move is injurious to them, even as it has been revealed by a section of the Daily Today that former Prime Minister Raila Odinga has not complied with this rule, effectively putting him in an awkward position and possibly, again I repeat, possibly being barred from contesting in this election. What's about this? Let me start with the advocate in the House.
Yes.
What's about this that we are sort of forcing IEBC to be KRA, to be CID and all these things? This information is available everywhere.
To be in terms of what? You see, there is a new law, the Election Campaigns Finance Act. Okay, it's very clear that you have to register your officials, the persons who will more or less preside over your election. Okay, and they have to submit their accounts, the bank accounts. So, and the deadline was there last Friday.
Because this is imagining that all our money just go through accounts, that we give people when they go to Harambee,
yes,
or we send people money through accounts.
You're getting to a level where you must be accountable. And every leader, whether he is a presidential candidate or whatever kind of leader, must abide by that. It's very important that this country we get to observe the rules of law, because we can't expect to change gears, to change goalposts for one person and not for the others. Once it's decided by the parliament and by the law that this is how we are going to proceed, let it be like that, okay? So I have seen the petition that the ODM filed at the High Court, and I think, well, they have a right to litigation. They have a right to go to court.
You don't think there's anything in there?
I can't know. I wouldn't want to be here. I want to comment on that right now. All I can say is that they have a right to go to court. It's there. They have their issues. They will argue them out. But once the law sets a certain standard and a certain procedure to be followed, it is very important that everyone abides by that, so that we become a country that can be.
But I think when we were coming in, I was arguing with him about this issue of every problem we face, we look for a solution through legal means. We have so many laws. The problem we're facing is a social problem where politicians bribe people. That's why the Finance Act came in place, to really control. So how do you address it? Do you have another law that you cannot even enforce? How will I be enforce that law?
You see,
this is a cosmetic way of dealing with things.
You see, you have provided your accounts, okay? And the law even goes ahead to say that political parties will not be financed by foreign governments. Forget about even other organizations. Maybe we'll come to that later. Foreign governments. So these are control measures. We have to move to some level where we are able to say that, look, we can now audit ourselves in a certain way. We can see where we are in terms of financing our campaigns. Because we have all kinds of people doing all manner of, even stealing, so as to be able to have enough money in the pockets to finance.
Let me just ask, that we honestly believe, as we speak tonight, that we honestly believe that Kenyan politicians are getting their money, put in an account, then they're going to spend it, that money, and go to the... Do we honestly believe that story?
You see, once the law is put in place...
No, just about the law.
Yes.
That the Kenyan politicians...
They ought to.
But to be realistic, we are yet to reach that point.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a good move and all that, but how implementable is it currently as it is? And does it mean if you have an account that you have already shown IBC, this is my account and all that, does it automatically mean that's the only amount you're going to... Do they even have the capacity
to
now to monitor?
After the elections, every political party, will have to submit a kind of the unaudited report, okay, to the ABC. It's not a one-off thing. It's not that they are saying we must show us these now before the elections, and then after that you can now go
all that is fine and well.
Okay?
We have a law that asks politicians to declare their wealth.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
How has that helped us? How has that helped us since we established in 2010?
Well, you see, once you declare your wealth, then
who? Have you ever seen any
secret?
Yeah, you declare.
What's the point of declaring something that's in secret?
You declare it in secret.
I think we're just making law.
You see, that's the problem with this law.
The point we are saying is, once you declare your wealth, okay, then it's upon anyone who has interest in knowing whether you have what you don't. Okay, to assess you with time, okay, so that if we want to audit where you came from when you declared your wealth and where you are now. It should be open for anyone to do that, okay? You see, we have to start a point where you have declared your wealth. You have declared. There's no other way of knowing what you own.
Where can't we start from?
I can give you a good example of a cabinet secretary who declared their wealth and they were worth X amount of cash. Then now they're allegedly building a
good. You can see that. You can see that because
yet the same EACC that has access to those documents cannot access it and do anything.
That's a different matter. You can see that because you're able to.
You saw
their declared wealth. Now, if it is upon you, if you want to go and audit them and ask them how much have you earned ever since you declared, now that's another level altogether. Okay. But that's a different case. But for the time being, they have declared.
Let's shift gears as well and back to important matters. And Public Accounts Committee continues its shadowboxing with Elgeyo Marakwet. Senator Kipchumba Murkomen, PSC, had summoned Murkomen to appear before it and explain his links with NYS lost billions. Murkomen has, however, opted to send associate lawyer in his firm, something the committee has found disturbing. Meanwhile, Murkomen is now pulling the matters from park to personal contest, asking Chair of Park Engineer Fred Gumbo to publish his personal bank accounts first before asking other politicians to do so.
I have challenged the committee, Mr. Gumbo, and your committee members, to give confidence to the people of Kenya that you are not using the privileged position as members of parliament to either raise Christmas gifts or to raise campaign money. Publish all your accounts for all committee members. Publish the accounts for your farms and the farms of your associates. Then we as Kenyans will say, Mr. Gumbo and his team are so pursuant of the truth, they have even given us the accounts, and it's so clear that they have never received any money from anybody. I challenge that committee.
What do you make of it?
Why does he always speak in rallies and funerals? Why can't he go and speak to the committee? These are his fellow colleagues in parliament. Why is he always running around and speaking so much when he's summoned to the committee, doesn't come? And why is shifting gears? Because it doesn't make sense.
The irony is it's called Sing'oei, Murkomen and Sigei advocates. It appeared before Park today. And there are some documents they are supposed to avail, they refused to avail them concerning the 15 million in question that is allegedly part of the NOS one. They refuse to reveal that information. Then he goes out and starts saying the same thing. Why can't he lead by example and say, this is how we handle that money, this is how we prove that this was for purchasing a certain land. Then now you come and say, now you guys publish your accounts. Then at least you'll be seen to be, you are transparent enough before you ask the others. Now he wants the others to be transparent before.
You see, this how do I say? It's now at the political point. First, I don't know whether it is Murkomen himself or his law firm. Depending on which one the committee wants, then he may have a right to send an advocate, or he may have to appear in person. But what I can say about this is, initially, we were having hairdressers at the committee. We were having drivers. We were having all those. We reached a point where it is now time for the politicians. And
lawyers.
And lawyers, yes. No, Murkomen is more of a politician than a lawyer now. So that now, and the demarcation between the civilians and the politicians was at the point when the deputy president spoke about it. You see, when now it became very clear that the likes of Murkomen would have to appear before this committee, that's when the deputy president came out. Now, having come out like that, you don't expect these guys to go to just present themselves just like that. They have to show that they are being victimized. In fact, I think if he were to appear before that committee, he will come there with his crowd of people. You saw what happened when the governor came the Murang governor came to the committee. It will be a different scenario now. He will bring his supporters. Okay, he has to show that this is not just an ordinary event. I am being pushed to this. And he might even take a homecoming. Just wait and see that. Once he appears before this committee, he will make a homecoming, such that he will now show the people that we see.
He must get the political dividends out of it.
Exactly.
The question then is, do we know when the Deputy President's personal assistant, Farouk Kibet, is going to attend? Because he was published as well that he was supposed to attend these, PSC meetings.
So then the committee is also playing funny games, because when it comes to the hairdresser and the drivers that are called in, when it comes to others now, they say they'll make submissions, then they're not called in. Have you had even the committee chair calling them to appear personally?
So Mr. Farouk Kibet will not appear.
But even the committee, how far are we going to? What's the end game of this committee?
To reveal the truth. We need to reveal the truth.
How do you reveal the truth while you're treating these issues with you are not neutral. There are those one you summon, there are those one who don't summon, there are those one you treat with gloves. Because everyone who was mentioned was summoned here. Even they told the hairdresser that we will send you police to bring you here. But they haven't said the same to Farouk, nor Murkomen, because Murkomen is ever speaking out there.
He said, in fact, that his hands are itching to go to the committee. And
who is that?
Murkomen.
That's exactly what he'd have done. Okay? Even if I were one of them, I would present myself before this committee. Because ultimately, and I can say that for sure, whatever report they make here, by the way, we are heading to the elections. Whatever this committee comes out with, it will be neither here nor there. The only thing that you can do is to arrest the persons who are implicated, take them to court with evidence, and try them and charge them and try them. Otherwise, the reports are by the Committee of Parliament, and at an election year, we will just treat it like with all the...
Murkomen has claimed this is just for minting money for election campaigns. To some extent, it might be true, but then again, he needs to appear here so that he can point it out. If he has evidence against these same members that he says have taken bribes, then let him appear here so that he also absolves himself, because now it's not him, but his law firm is the one being targeted. Why can't he come, provide all those things, then now say, I've provided everything you need?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Your final point on it?
Yes, and again, another issue is accusing other guys there to present their bank account. He's the one who is taking the weight, is the accused. We haven't heard the chair of this committee being accused of receiving NYS money. If he's accused as well, he will be put there to defend himself. He's just been called in to defend himself, not to point at others and say others also, I must do this, others must do this. This is an example of a thief running on the street and saying, thief, 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 and he's the one being chased. Yeah.
All right, we'll leave it at that, on that point. But in search of narratives for the 2017 elections, guess what and who's back? Yes, our lovely friend, the International Criminal Court. It all started when President Uhuru Kenyatta pledged to start a process of pulling Kenya out of the court. Opposition politicians could not allow him to get away with it and bang on the debate. Pundits say it is back. Take a listen.
Twice, our parliament has passed a motion to withdraw. We have sought the changes that will align the ICC to respect national sovereignty. Those changes have not been forthcoming. We will therefore need to give serious thought to our membership.
Rais Uhuru alisema ati wao kama Jubilee wanafikiria kutoa Kenya kwa mahakama ya ICC. ICC ilionea Uhuru Kenyatta huruma. Kwa hivyo yeye natakana atoe pongezi na shukrani kwa ICC. Si kusema tu Kenya itatoka kwa ICC. Kenya itabaki kwa ICC. Uhuru na wenzake wapende wasipende.
Okay, so the talk of town has been that this has been a mistake, for the opposition to get into it. That, in fact, since Jubilee made a mincemeat out of it in 2013, the opposition should not have attempted to get into it.
I think that ICC thing was a bait that Raila swallowed, that he shouldn't have even tested.
Why is it a problem? Because everyone says that. Why is it a problem?
Because it was the main reason why he lost the last election to the dynamic.
But why did he lose the last election? Because he didn't discuss it. He refused to discuss it, isn't it?
Yeah, you see.
No, he kept saying the two must go to the Hague and answer to questions.
But I think at the moment ICC is not a priority to us. Most Kenyans is not. So the Jubilee administration, I think, has run out of ideas. So it's trying to go to the graves and digging out some skeleton to say, let's stick on this and use it as a campaign tool.
Yes, I would
Jubilee will be judged on delivery.
I would perfectly agree with that. When I listened to the president speak, I wondered how he came out with the issue of ICC. It just popped out from his speech. And he said Parliament has twice passed it. Now, after passing the motion to withdraw, what did they attempt to do? Because we say they are the persons in power, okay? The ODM, the opposition may oppose it, the withdrawal. But if they have anything, if they are so intent on withdrawing, let them go ahead and start it up. Because now it's going to become an issue for the campaign. That we were taken to the ICC, and the opposition is now refusing us to withdraw. That contest is what is now going to be carried forth. And we are saying, if they have the desire to withdraw, okay? I don't know whether the country, the rest of us feel the same, but if they have the desire, let them make the next move, okay? So that we can see that these are people who are serious. Let them not continue playing around with it as if it's a carrot they are holding for us to make a debate out of it. Because I can see for sure the next election, there won't be much to debate about. We will continue thinking around the same thing. The ICC, the foreigners, you see now the ICC must be seen as a foreign court. And we are already talking about foreigners funding, okay? The whole of that is a good package to put forward come next year so that now we have something to talk about. Something that will whip emotions, and Kenyans who don't think beyond what they are told can now pick it up and make it a debate.
So that's why I'm saying it was a hook targeting the opposition, and Raila fell for it. It was 1, foreign funding, and 2, ICC. They were to say we are pulling out, so that Raila says, oh, then the opposing what, then now it said, you see, they're the ones who took us there. So it's made an issue, yet it was not an issue. Then foreign funding, now they link Raila to the foreign funding. That was the intention. Raila fell for it. Now you see, immediately he made that comment. There were how many press conferences by the Jubilee side, led by Duale, to talk about how Raila is the one who sent us there. Now that towards election is going to be made an issue, then they whip up emotion and say, you see, the one who took us there doesn't want us to come out once the two prosecuted, so that he can get a clean way to stay.
The difficulty with this discussion, yes, that it does not tell the whole story about, the ICC, all right? That in 2013, this country refused to have a discussion about ICC, yes, truly and honestly. Mm-hmm. So the idea that Jubilee won because of ICC is actually not true. It's a fallacy.
I think trying to block conversations around ICC is trying to bring us, or trying to, what I'll say, you're boxing people, so one day they'll explode. So it's now we must speak about this ICC, and also remember about victims of Naivasha and Kiambaa Church.
You must see ICC as having contributed to the victory, as it were.
It did. That is true. It did.
Yes.
But we cannot say that since it contributed to victory then,
so
it's a masterclass for 2017 for it to happen again, because half of the country refused to have that discussion. It was not having that discussion.
No, we will have the discussion now. Okay, it's being introduced to us. We will discuss as to whether...
and the beneficiaries can be different, right?
As to whether if we vote in one way, we might end up where we were in 2013. Okay, and we will be reminded that the reason as to why we are coming together in one umbrella is to ensure that we don't go that way once more. Okay, so all that, and I'm saying you must look at it in terms of a package. It's a package. It's something that will tell us that, look, there are some people who are funded by foreigners.
All right, let's go to your Twitter questions tonight. Up on your screen, we're asking you tonight, coming up right now, can Jubilee conduct free and fair elections? Can Jubilee conduct free and fair elections? Twitters at KTN Kenya, at KTN News, at James Smart, hashtag news sources. I'll be happy to hear your thoughts. Already seeing your tweets. Taking a short break. We'll be right back with more. Don't go too far.